Do not wait to quit your job. You need to quit your job today. Okay, maybe not today, but like pronto. While there is the, oh, you should probably look and see what else is out there, signs you should quit your job, that's not what we're talking about in this video. Today, we are talking about high urgency signs you should quit your job as soon as possible. Now, if I was a good YouTuber, I would ask you to subscribe and put the notification bell before I got into the video. Oh, wait. Anyways, if you want to know if you should start writing your resignation letter, tap that like button and let's just jump straight into it. And I just want to clarify real quick that I know that not everyone can walk into their job and like literally quit tomorrow. Most people have a job because they need a paycheck. Let's just face it. We're not working for funsies here. Though hopefully in an ideal world, we are enjoying our work. So I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick before we get any deeper. The first sign you should quit your job immediately is that it's a toxic work environment. I work with mostly people that are in a toxic work environment or have recently escaped a toxic workplace. And I can tell you one thing, most people stay way too long. This is not to say that the moment that you don't like your job or you spot a toxic behavior, you need to immediately run for the hills. Because having some difficult coworkers or an insecure boss does not a rapid departure make. Necessarily. However, if you have a toxic boss or you are in a toxic work environment, you are not going to change it. You don't have the power to do that by yourself, especially if you're at the bottom of the corporate hierarchy. I won't dig into all the signs for you to assess if you are in a toxic workplace. I have a whole video that you can watch after this one to help you figure it out. Now, if you're at a big corporation and maybe you have a toxic boss or you're on a toxic team, there might be maneuvers that you can make before you quit your job, such as finding a way to transfer to a different team or report to a different manager. There's just more places to hide in a big company. But if that is not an option due to the company size or the opportunities that are available to you at your current toxic company, it's time for you to devise your exit strategy. Or if it's just pervasive, it's time for you to move on as quickly as possible. The next sign that you should quit your job immediately is actually really common, especially if you are in a toxic work environment. And that is that your job is impacting your mental health or is causing you to burn out. For all the practical considerations and things keeping you from quitting your job, I can tell you one thing. No job is worth your wellness. It's not uncommon for the people that I work with that have been in a toxic work environment to have depression, anxiety, and even PTSD. But even if you're not in a toxic work environment, you might be in a work environment that is not structured for you to be at optimal health physically, emotionally, psychologically. For example, if your job demands that you work 90 to 100 hours a week, that is a recipe for burnout. In fact, it's a fast track to it. And while you may be able to sustain that level of effort and time and exhaustion for a little bit, that's only gonna bring you so long. And when you hit that wall, my friend, it is going to hurt. And while you can recover from burnout, and I have a whole video on that as well, the more optimal thing to do is to avoid burning out in the first place. Or maybe there's other stressors that are really getting to you and impacting your overall wellness. If you're at the point where your job is making you miserable and that misery is walking around with you all of the time, you deserve so much better than that. Even if you haven't gotten to the extremes of depression and burnout like I just mentioned, if you're in a place where you're working all the time, not being treated well, stressed out, all of those things, burnout really becomes an inevitability. I can't say inevitability. Inevitability. Blech, I won't say the word, that's it. And I'm actually curious to hear from you guys. Have you ever been in a job that has burned you out? I know I have. Let me know in the comments down below. Now, I've touched on exit strategies a few times, and maybe you've already deployed an exit strategy. And that brings me to the next sign you need to quit your job as soon as possible. And that is you've accepted another job offer. And this is quite honestly best case scenario. However, it's not always easy to do. And I know some people get worried and they get anxious, like, is their manager going to get mad at them? They don't know how to quit their jobs. And I can assure you, it's not as terrifying as it might seem. Maybe it's not always pleasant, doesn't always feel good. Even if it's a job you don't really like, there's a lot of kind of stuff that goes into quitting your job. I know that some people will deliberately wait in certain circumstances. Like it's very common if you are in a sales role that you put in your notice and you're done because they don't want you taking your client list with you when you go. Or maybe you're in a location with at-will employment where you know that the company has a history of as soon as someone puts in a 2 weeks notice, they're like, okay, that's it, you're done, and they're not going to pay you, and you need those 2 weeks pay. So there can be some considerations that go into here and the timing for you to actually quit your job. But in general, most companies will appreciate the notice period, and in some locations, that notice period is kind of required. And especially when it comes to keeping your professional reputation intact and to leave gracefully on the highest of notes, giving advance notice to quit your job is something that you absolutely should be doing. Now, if you just don't know how to quit your job, what to put in your resignation letter, I do have some videos that will help you out. I will link those down below so that you can check them out if you need them. Which, I mean, after you finish watching this video, everyone's gonna need them, right? The next sign that you should quit your job immediately or as quickly as possible is a little bit more serious. And again, I don't want to wade into like legal territory, but if you are being harassed, discriminated against, HR is not on your side, like we've talked about before, there isn't going to be a path to success there. And really, the longer that you stay, the more harm you're going to incur. Now, if you feel as though you are being harassed or you are being discriminated against, this is absolutely something that you should be consulting with a lawyer, considering talking to the EEOC. And if you have a supportive HR team that you don't think is just going to fire you for reporting it, then you should also be following the procedures that should be outlined in your employee handbook in order to address it. Now, if you have followed the formal channels at your company and it has not been resolved, then it is going to be time for you to be plotting a quick exit from the company. Is it fair, and should companies be doing a lot better? Absolutely. But I am also of the opinion that if any company is willing to tolerate any level of harassment or discrimination for absolutely any reason, they don't deserve you. You are way too awesome to be stuck in a job that is going to completely undermine, undervalue, and underappreciate you. And when you are not going to be getting equal access to opportunities that someone else has, especially when those someone else's aren't nearly as awesome as you are. And again, I think that this is so much easier said than done for so many reasons. But if you're watching this and this is something that you have been putting up with, it's really important for you to know that you do not have to put up with this, and you do deserve better. And this leads me to the next sign that you should quit your job immediately. And this one's a lot lighter. If your job does not support the life that you want to have, you need to quit that job. We've been talking a lot about work-life boundaries here, and trust me, we are going to be talking a lot more about them. But as you define and figure out what your work-life boundaries are, your employer just might not support them. For example, it was recently in the news about some interns or new employees, I can't remember which, but they were at a really big financial firm and they were being forced to work 90+ hours a week. And I know that in a lot of industries like finance, consulting, law firms, and tech startups, that's not actually a crazy number of hours. It's kind of par for the course. If you say, oh, I just won't work more than 50 hours a week, those people might get fired. It might not actually be an option there. But this is also more than about boundaries. It's also about the vision that you have for your career and how it's actually going to be brought to fruition. If you've been with a company and you are ready for that next step in your career and it's just not happening, you've explored all of your options and you've reached dead ends everywhere that you have arrived, you have the option to either stay and downgrade your ambition or to find a greener pasture somewhere else. And I know that leaving a safe, secure job can be kind of scary. Okay, really scary. And while when this is the case, it doesn't necessarily have the same urgency as some of the other situations that we've talked about, I don't want you to be complacent and just kind of lean back and wait for things to happen, when really what is happening is that you're losing trajectory and momentum in your career. While you can't control the whole world and the company that you work for and all of that, you do have the ability to design the life that you want and to pursue it. Now, if you want to get clear on that, you absolutely must attend my free webinar, Glow Up Your Career. If you want to check that out, I'll leave the link in the description bar down below. And actually that leads me to one more thing. So I'm just let's throw this in as a bonus tip. I haven't had a bonus tip in a while. If you've been going through these signs that you need to quit your job immediately and it's like, yeah, okay, now I know I need to make a move. It's time for me to plan my exit, to hand in my notice even. There's something that's really important for you to do. And this is going to help you in your job search or to stage yourself for success if you've already accepted another role. You need to know your unique awesomeness quotient. And that workshop that I just mentioned is going to help you figure it out. But the more aware you are of your inherent awesomeness, why any company would be so lucky to have you on their team, and your highest opportunity potential, this is really the key that unlocks it all. But that actually brings us to something much more tactical. You're ready to quit, but this can be really difficult when you're working a full-time job, taking time after hours to search for a job. Well, especially if you're in a toxic work environment or working all the time, that might be really challenging. And that's why you need to approach your job search strategically, because there's low impact job search activities like panic applying to every open position on Indeed, no matter what the role is. And there's high impact job search activities like strategic networking and marketing your awesomeness effectively. Head over to this video right now where you can plot your strategic job search to get hired and quit your job as quickly as possible. But before you go, if this video helped you figure out if you need to quit your job immediately, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel and it makes you my favorite career bestie. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. And as always, thank you so much, my friend, for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.